There's a certain pride that comes with being employed, a steady rhythm to your days, a purpose when the alarm clock rings, a reason to hold your head high when you're asked, "What do you do for a living?" You walk into your job knowing you contribute to something bigger than yourself, even if it's not your dream career. There's stability in that paycheck, in the benefits, in the structure. Your calendar fills with deadlines and meetings, your bank account with deposits. You feel seen, needed, and maybe even respected. But on the flip side, the feeling of being unemployed can hit hard. It's not just the lack of income, it's the silence that grows louder each morning when there's nowhere to go, no task to complete, no team counting on you. Time stretches out, but it doesn't feel free, it feels heavy. Your confidence wavers, your sense of identity starts to blur. You might say you're in between jobs, but the truth is, it often feels like you're in between versions of yourself. Some days are hopeful, filled with applications, plans, dreams. Other days are riddled with doubt, scrolling job listings, wondering if your skills still matter. But both states, employment and unemployment, teach you something. One gives you structure, the other gives you reflection. And when you finally move from one to the other, you carry the lessons with you, a little more grounded and a lot more resilient. And yet, even in the whirlwind of employment, there are moments of restlessness. You may feel trapped in routines, confined by schedules, or overwhelmed by workplace politics. The very structure that offers security can also stifle creativity. You might find yourself daydreaming at your desk, wondering what it would feel like to break free, to take a leap towards something more meaningful. There's this delicate balanced gratitude for the job you have, mixed with a quiet yearning for something greater. On the other hand, unemployment, as isolating as it can be, sometimes becomes a space for rediscovery. It forces you to ask questions most people avoid. What do I really want to do? What am I passionate about? Who am I without a job title? It's a strange paradox. Be unemployed can feel like failure to the outside world, but internally, it can be the beginning of transformation. You learn to hustle, to adapt, to find small wins in rejection. You begin to value time differently, learning that productivity isn't only measured in hours worked, but also in self-growth, resilience, and vision. And when you finally re-enter the workforce stronger, wiser, and more self-aware, you do so not just as an employee, but as someone who's faced uncertainty and kept moving forward. Whether employed or unemployed, both states are chapters in a much larger your story. And every chapter matters, because it's all shaping who you're becoming. And what's striking is how both experiences, though vastly different, shape your identity in profound ways. Being employed can create a sense of purpose, a daily rhythm that keeps your life structured. You get used to the subtle pride of having a badge, a role, a paycheck that reflects your efforts. You can contribute to society, provide for loved ones, or build a career path brick by brick. But sometimes that steady path becomes so familiar that you stop noticing your own growth or lack thereof. You stay for the benefits, the routine, the comfort, even when deep down you crave change. Meanwhile, unemployment often strips away the noise. It removes the mask we wear at work and reveals our fears, our doubts, and, surprisingly, our strengths. It's in the quiet moments, when you're not rushing to clock in or answer emails, that you start hearing your real voice. That voice might whisper wild ideas, buried dreams, or painful truths you've ignored. Yes, the anxiety can be crushing. Unpaid bills, awkward conversations about your next move, and the slow erosion of confidence. But when you push through it, when you decide to learn a new skill, apply for that job you thought was out of reach, or finally chase that side hustle, you realized you were never standing still. You were growing roots. Eventually, whether you return to a traditional job or carve your own lane, you carry lessons that only time and hardship could teach you. You've seen both sides, the security of employment and the raw freedom of job, and that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because now you're not working just to survive, but to thrive. You know the value of your time, the weight of your choices, and the power of perseverance. You've been through the grind, faced the silence, and come out the other side with a clearer sense of who you are and who you want to become. There is something deeply grounding about waking up in the morning and knowing exactly what you need to do. Being employed brings structure. The alarm clock is just a shrill reminder of Tamet, becomes the first domino in a daily sequence that ends in the comfort of accomplishment. You have a reason to rise, a destination, a rhythm. You dress not just for yourself, but for the world you're participating in. The train ride, the coffee line, the small talk, the deadlines, they all become part of a system that reinforces a sense of purpose, and it's not always glamorous. Sometimes it's routine, draining even. But that paycheck at the end of the week, that feeling that your time and skills translated into valuats, a form of dignity. You earn your meals, you buy things without guilt. You feel like a contributor to society, even if your role is small. People ask you what you do, and you have an answer, a title, a place, a function. But when you're unemployed, that same alarm clock turns into a taunt. The days blur. There's a strange, hollow silence that settles in, especially when everyone else seems to be moving forward and you're stuck in neutral. At first, it feels like freedom. No boss, no meetings, no obligations. But that freedom turns cold fast. Time becomes heavy, dragging its feet. You wake up with no plan. Meals lose their flavor. You begin to avoid mirrors. Then people, it is hard to explain to others unless they've been there how not working doesn't just affect your finances. It eats at your identity. You start to wonder if you matter, if you're falling behind, if you'll ever catch up again. And in that silence, there's a mental fog that creeps in. You replay every decision that led you here. Maybe it wasn't your fault, a layoff, a company shut down, bad luck. But still, the brain searches for blame, and sometimes it finds it in your own reflection. The confidence you once carried into interviews now feels artificial. The resume feels outdated. You apply, you wait, and the silence becomes familiar. Worse than rejection is no reply at all. Being employed isn't always about loving your jobs, about having one. It's about participating in the economy, in society, in the steady beat of purpose. It's not just the paycheck, it's the people you interact with, the skills you sharpen, the little wins you collect. And being unemployed, it's not laziness, it's not failure, it's often just a temporary pause. But that pause feels like an eternity. And without the right support, mentally and financially, that pause can convince you that it's permanent.